You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. With us right now is Rabbi Mendel Moskovitz. He's born in Brooklyn, New York, at the age of 6 months old. He actually moved to the Ukraine with his parents, where they served as Chabad emissaries, and they were charged with rebuilding Jewish life in the country. He studied abroad 10 years in yeshiva, graduated from Binnacle School in Australia. He returned to Ukraine, to where he grew up, and he raised 3 children there, served as rabbi to Ukrainian youth for 7 years until the current war. And he's a certified life coach, founded Hasidic holistic programming, mythology for personal growth. Following his dramatic escape from Ukraine with his family, he has inspired many people, and he proudly serves as the ambassador to the Jewish Relief Network Ukraine. We're speaking to him in Israel. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Zev. Thank you for having me.
So I'm impressed. In 6 months, you learned English so well.
So, as you were saying, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and my mother's from Sydney, Australia. My father's from Caracas, Venezuela, but my mother's from Sydney, and I was born in New York. I was raised in the Ukraine all my life, but we spoke English at home, and then my friends are English and a lot of the yeshivas, and I studied in Australia, so my English got better from time to time, and I hope it's good enough now.
No, I was going to say I'm impressed what you learned in 6 months. Many people don't learn in a whole lifetime. So here you are, you're in Ukraine, you want to do good work. You are doing good work. The war starts. What happens?
So if I may, I want to take you back, like how I ended up there. So before the war began, life was truly amazing there. First of all, it was pretty crazy as it is for a couple, my parents coming in 1990, which was still the Soviet Union, with a little baby, which was me. I was the first Jewish kid who was brought from America to come live in the Soviet Union. So that was like a really big deal back in the days in 1990. And, we were sent by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We're the first emissaries who were sent, Jewish emissaries who were sent to the Soviet Union. So this was really, really exciting. There's 3 families. My father.
Now, Soviet Union encompassed the Ukraine people. Even today, you ask people where they're from. They say they're from Russia, the Soviet Union, but they're really from Ukraine. So Ukraine was considered part of the Soviet Union.
Right.
So not to Russia itself, but today it's right, but to Ukraine.
Correct. So when we arrived there, it was obviously Ukraine, Kharkov, and so we came there and we started rebuilding life, because communism tried to wipe out Jewish life as we know it. They closed down all the Jewish schools, synagogues, everything was closed. So we came in 1990, where the perestroika was starting to happen, when communism started to fall apart, and that's when we came to rebuild Jewish life. And all my life, I grew up there, and I was always very, very proud, of being a rabbi there with my parents, and together with over 150 Chabad rabbis all over Ukraine. So that was a big, big opportunity for us to be at that moment when Jewish life was being, returned back to the Jewish people, and they had the freedom to practice their Judaism, to build Jewish schools, and, just to be Jewish. So this was a very, very big deal, and it was very exciting for the Jewish people there. When we came to Kharkov, so there were 50,000 Jews. It's the second largest city in the Ukraine, close to 2 million people. So we're talking about a very, very big community. And for 32 years, we're serving this community, and it was amazing. Anti-Semitic wise, everybody was very respectful to us. Even though back in the history, there were dark histories, but for the past 32 years, Ukraine has done a huge effort to respect the Jewish people. So we really had a great connection with the government, even till today, with the local government and with the country, with the president, etc. So and this enables us to do this great work that we're continuing doing till this day, with helping the Jewish people there. So all this was going on for 32 years, and about a month before the war, that's when things started getting a little bit crazy. So a month before the war, we're starting to get these messages from the United States, from Israel. We're getting these notifications from friends and family that, there's Russians, hundreds of thousands of soldiers are coming right by the border. Now, Kharkov is located right by the Russian border. So from my house to the Russian border is about a 30 to 40 minute drive. So it was very scary that whole month. We didn't know if there's going to be a war. Everybody in Ukraine was trying to deny the fact that something like this might happen. But when as time was coming closer, we started buying some food and some supplies. We were realizing that things are getting serious. No one was actually like leaving from the community, so we made the decision, even though things are tough, we have to stay for them. And one morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, there were just these bombs that started falling on our city, on Kharkov and a lot of other surrounding cities, but especially Kharkov. The first week of the war, the city I lived in was bombed the worst. And we realized that, this is serious, that this is a full-scale war. And we have a very big problem. First of all, we have 20,000 people. In our community, we have 20,000 Jews. So, just to get everybody on a bus and take everybody out, that's impossible. And a lot of people obviously want to stay. A lot of people they're part of the city. They don't want to leave. And, everyone has their reasons why they're there. And we were there for a week and a half, eating bombs. Throughout this whole time, we're trying to encourage people and, keeping them strong spiritually. But not only that, also, physically providing food for everybody, providing medicine. The synagogue became the humanitarian aid center. And not only for Jews, a lot of people from the city, people who were by the metro station, they all started coming also they were sleeping there, staying there, finding shelter. They were also coming to us. They were also coming to get help from the synagogue. And even the mayor of the city came and thanked us for helping the people of the city, the people of Kharkov. So this was a first time we experienced this humanitarian aid to this amount of people on such a large scale. So after over a week of being under fire, a bomb fell right next door to our house, and our house filled up with smoke, and we had no choice. I just had to take my family. We had a little handbag. I had no time to pack, or we just had to get out, and we left. We left Kharkov, and we traveled for 3 days. It was horrendous with my kids, and we also took other families with us. And the experience.
How'd you get out?
So it's a story. It's a story for itself. It took us 3 days. We found a van, and then we found another van that took us to the next city and the next city, and then one of the drivers just dropped us off in the middle of the night by the border. It was like -10. It was freezing cold outside, and I'm standing there with all my kids, and it was meshuggah. It was crazy. But thank God there was a miracle, and a bus was there from a different community, which we found there at the border. So we got on that bus, and then we got to Moldova, and from Moldova to Romania, a 3-day trip with so many stories and craziness. But the thing that was hurting us most is that feeling of that we have our community left behind in Kharkov. So the first thing we started doing is looking for buses and trying to find a way to save as much people as possible from there. But then at a certain point, we got to Israel, and, I took my family to safety, thank God. But we realized at that point, after 2 weeks, we realized that there's a lot of Jews who don't want to leave or who can't leave for many reasons. Either they're elderly, they don't see themselves leaving to any other place, or they're young in their army, or they have siblings or cousins in the army and they don't want to leave them behind, etc. So there's just in Kharkov itself, there's thousands of Jews, and throughout Ukraine, there are tens of thousands of Jews that are not going anywhere. So when we realized that, so our mission was stop being only taking people out, but seeing how we could help people there. So a lot of the rabbis who could, in the safer cities, not like Kharkov, but other safer cities where it's possible to be there, came back. And even my father risked his life a few times, got into Kharkov. My brother went there as well a few times.
Because he's still the shliach there, right? The Chabad.
Yeah. But it's very dangerous. So he goes in for 2 weeks, goes out, for Shavuos, for like big holidays where, people really need us spiritually and not only physically. But we have an operation going on. We have a humanitarian operation. We got together all the rabbis, and we started working together in creating these huge systems that could help everybody, that could help all the Jews in every city. So we have a team of over 50 people who are employed, full-time employed, and hundreds who are partially employed all over Ukraine, who are getting food to people, right? So we have systems that we have in the warehouse. There's army warehouses. We can get food from there. We can get to the people who need the food. People ask us for a list of medicine. We send everything they need, and medicine supplies, everything that they're missing. It's important to understand people are 6 months without work. The cities are not functioning as normal times. It's times of war. And, we're also concerned that people might have their electricity cut out or their heating. So we're working on that as well. And the biggest
coming soon, we have to take care of that. We're speaking with Rabbi Mendel Moskovitz, originally from Brooklyn, New York. He was raised in Kharkiv in Ukraine. He left there when the war started. Then he's currently involved in relief efforts as ambassador to the Jewish Relief Network, Ukraine. So with winter coming, people have to have shelter. But I'm curious, is Kharkiv under Russian control or still under Ukrainian control? You said it's close to the border, so a lot of the border towns were occupied by Russia. What is the status?
That's correct. So cities like Kherson, which is a very big city, that is under Russian occupation, and Ukraine is trying to fight back. But Kharkiv was never conquered by Russia. It's such a big stronghold by the Ukrainian army. They're standing strong, and they're fighting back. And it's still under Ukraine. But in any case, our main concern is the Jewish people there, how we could get help to them. That's what we're worried right now. And right now, actually, our main mission as our organization, and we know what's going on there because we have people on the ground. I'm in touch every day with Jews there, and my other rabbis, my fellow rabbis, are in touch every day with the local Jews. We have people who are operating everything. And the biggest problem right now is the schools. So we have the winter coming, which is something we're going to have to deal with, and we're starting to work on this and developing a system how to help all the people there throughout the winter, that they should be safe. But right now, schools have to start, and schools have to begin, and we want the schools to start, but certain cities, they're requiring different requirements for school. So they want shelters being built. And they other equipment, special equipment that has to be there for the schools to open up. So this is a problem right now that we're dealing with and breaking our heads. And obviously, just shelters and building these things cost us a fortune. So right now we're fundraising for this. We're looking for money. So if anybody's listening to this podcast that could help, you could go on to our website jrnu.org. We have all the information there.
Repeat that again.
jrnu.org.
Stands for Jewish Relief Network Ukraine.
Jewish Relief Network Ukraine, right.
Well, let me ask this question, because you mentioned that you need money, and I know that when the war began, American Jews around the world were very generous in giving money to help Ukraine. I was talking to Judy Garrett, who is your chief operating officer. I'm talking to lots of different groups, and people are just, Ukraine has faded from the scene, at least in America. Now it's in Israel. It's not really on the radar screen of a lot of American Jews. They're busy with getting ready for the Jewish New Year and school, et cetera, et cetera. So and all the groups are telling me that their fundraising is down. So how do we get to this back on the radar where people will be involved? Because as you said, the winter is coming, it's cold, people will be out in the streets. I joked and said that, they're going to be living in a sukkah all year round, unfortunately. So the question though is how do we get people involved again? Because people are jaded, or people felt, I gave already, I'm just not into it anymore.
So I think it's important to understand that as time goes by, things are getting worse, not better. So in the news, the awareness is going down because it's not exciting anymore. People got used to the fact that there's a war in Ukraine. But the situation on the ground is getting worse because every day the war is happening, it's harder to get money. It's harder to live by. It's harder to go on and live a normal life. And we're facing more difficulties, not less. And so I think what we could do is, first of all, what we're doing now, we're raising awareness. People need to hear that there's a war happening and that there's Jews who need help. That's number one. Number two, if anybody knows somebody who wants to donate and who would like to help specifically the Jews of Ukraine, and these are people who are helpless. People in Ukraine, they had a lot of them didn't have money, were very poor even before the war. So it's not a rich country. A lot of Jews are very, very poor in Ukraine. And America and Europe, we need to be there. We need to help them out. We need to hear their stories. You could go on our website, hear the personal stories as well of the people and kids who are going through this. And we need to continue helping them, because if we don't, nobody else will. So it's our responsibility. We can't let them go.
No, I totally concur with that. Do you have any plans to go back any time in the near future, even just to visit? You mentioned your father and your brother go there every major holiday and spend some time there. Are you planning to go back as well?
I would love to. I would love to come back. I miss my home. I have all my belongings there, my home, my community, the city I grew up in. Right now, it's very unsafe, and I have to be here helping out my family here and other refugees, hundreds of refugees who came here to Israel, who need to find a place and need to establish themselves here. And I'm doing this, which is helping out the people of Ukraine in general, not just the city of Kharkov, but helping out all the Jews in Ukraine, with this amazing organization would actually help me in my escape, arrange the plane to help us get out of Ukraine when we were escaping in the worst times that we were there in the beginning of the war. I hope things are going to get better and we'll be able to return there physically and continue helping our community. But for now, we're doing this remotely and sending our people there. We have people there on the ground who are controlling the situation there, where every day we're in touch. And what's helping everything going is the money. This is just the reality, the world that we're living in. We need money to have this going, to have this system of help and support. We need money. And when people, especially in America, open their wallets, and in Europe and other countries who have it a little better than in Ukraine right now, when they open up their wallets, this money goes directly to food and medicine and heating and school supplies to help kids and families continue living in whatever ways possible. So I feel, as Jews, we owe it to our fellow brothers who are right now there to help them in any way possible, because they're going through this hard time right now.
No question about that. And people, as they get ready for a new year, people have to take a perspective of our brothers and sisters in Ukraine that are having a worse time, not better, since the war began. May not get as much attention in the media, but their lives are worse, and there's constant bombing and shootings and taking place, and indiscriminate bombings. Is it still as bad, by the way, Rav Mendel, as far as the shelling and the bombing? Because I know that they're focusing on different parts of Ukraine is where the Russians are attacking.
So specifically in Kharkov, it got much worse. Yesterday, 2 days ago. Yeah. There was 8 big bombs that were dropped in the center of the city. Unfortunately, it's getting much worse. Unfortunately, Russia is upset because the war is getting more serious, and the war is intensifying, unfortunately. But again, our focus is not on what's going on. Our focus is the people. We're focused on the help. That's why we're there. That's why we came to live there. And we need to see how we could care for our brothers and sisters there.
Rabbi Mendel Moskovitz is our guest, originally from Brooklyn. He is 6 months old. He ended up in Kharkov, Ukraine, ended up going to Israel, Australia. He came back and had to leave because of the war, but he's still leading efforts, not just for his city, but also for Jews in Ukraine that are having a tough time, and the situation is only getting worse. He's the ambassador to the Jewish Relief Network Ukraine. As we close out, Rabbi Moskovitz, let's give out the information. Let's give out the web address. Let's give out a phone number where people can contact the Jewish Relief Network Ukraine to get more information and to participate and to help.
Yeah, so jrnu.org is our website. And we have all the information there about all the different projects that we're doing for the people of Ukraine. And, different people have, their heart connects with different parts of what we're doing. Some want to help specifically families, kids. Some want to help in general. Some people want to help with food or medicine, etc., to support a specific family. So we have all those options on our website, jrnu.org. So it's jrnu.org. That's the website. Yeah, and we have at the bottom of the page, we have also addresses, phone number, information, whatever is needed you could contact in any way possible and help us out and help the Jews of Ukraine, help them, have a normal life as much as that is possible.
And thank you for your good work, for your effort, for your dedication. You're not leaving you left, but you didn't leave them behind. You're there to make sure Jews in your town, in Kharkiv, and surrounding areas in Ukraine have the necessity to live, to have food, shelter, especially with winter coming. It's very cold in Ukraine. If you think it's cold in New York or other parts of the country, you go to Ukraine, you feel the cold, the coldness. It's there cold, right? Very cold there. So thank you, and look forward to having you back. Hatzlach, and then you should have.
Thank you, Zev. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you to your listening.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.